Rev up your engines!
Well, the Union Auto Workers head says they're ready to strike against the big three. Ford, GM, and Stellantis. Used to be Ford, GM, and Chrysler, but now Stellantis owns all that, right? He said, we're ready to strike. We'll see what happens. If they do when they stop making cars, you know what'll happen? Everybody will start buying Toyotas and Hondas instead. It's a competitive world. Back in the day when I was young, hey, nobody bought foreign cars. A strike in the United States, the guys had something to go by, say, hey, will you make all the cars here? You're going to have to pay us more. But there wasn't a competitor to go to, so you couldn't buy something else, right? But now, there's all kinds of competition. And if they went on strike, it'd hit those guys where it counts, the money. Follow the money. And of course, if you saw that thing a week or two ago, Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, had an op-ed. They pay money for this stuff to say, oh, we don't need to have strikes in this. Oh, everything's fine. We're paying you guys better than you, what you're saying, you know, blah, blah, blah. So the rich guy smokes a cigar, drinks a champagne, right? And the workers that are building the cars are getting a raw deal. Look at GM. They had a factory, I believe it's in Ohio, making electric batteries. They got a whole bunch of government money to build it. And then they're paying the workers crappy salary, right? Hey, don't follow the talk. Follow the money. Don't follow these politicians that say they care about the regular person while they sit in their mansion and float on their yachts and fly in their private jets. They live in another world. And their talk means nothing. Take Al Gore, for example. He was the big, greeny, ecological guy, right? He had this house with all these giant windows, spent a fortune on electricity, heating, and air conditioning. It's all hypocrisy. All hypocrisy. Even Bill Gates talking about he wants to save the environment. He's got half a redwood forest of decks and houses he built in the West Coast for his house. So don't listen to their talk. It's all BS. Finago, you know, says, Scotty, I'm interested in 01 Infiniti i30 with 130,000 miles. Worth the buy or no? No, no, no! Infinitis are excellent vehicles if you buy them brand new. They have a lot of planned obsolescence in them, and even though Nissan makes them, they're Infinitis, they're high up in the air, money-wise, luxury cars. A lot of companies don't make extra parts for them, so you gotta go to the dealer. Like, I could get a power steering hose for my wife's Lexus. Didn't break yet, and it's 22 years old, but let's say it breaks. I could get the high-size hose for like $75. Aftermarket that works fine. I can't get it for the Infiniti because they didn't sell enough Infinitis that there's no aftermarket. Sometimes you have to pay $475 for that same type of hose that fits on the Infiniti. Infinitis are endless money pits at age. That thing is 23 years old and has 130,000 miles. It is an endless money pit waiting for you to throw your money into it. Agent 666 says, which one will last 20 years, a Subaru BRZ or a Mazda MX-5? Oh, I definitely said the Mazda MX-5. Problem with Subarus are, they're not bad vehicles. They fix the blown head gasket problems and stuff, but they want to sell their cars in mass volumes, and they are lower priced. Well, they're lower priced for a reason. They're also made cheap. They have boxer engines, and the way their heads are set up, there's two sets of gaskets that go on the heads. Most have one. This is two. They don't use gaskets on it. They use silicone sealer, silicone glue. As they age, they leak. That Subaru will be leaking oil, where the Mazda will still be going down the road not leaking at oil if you take care of it, right? You buy a Subaru and you're going to get rid of it after 100, 120,000 miles, you won't care. It generally doesn't wear out that fast. But when it does get old, it starts leaking, you got to pull the engine out, take it all apart, costs a bunch of money. The Mazda would be a much better buy out of those two, if you're talking about longevity. Jesus says, Scotty, can I use Amalie Dexron 6 synthetic ATF tranny fluid in my 18 Silverado 2500 Allison transmission? Well, you could, but I would not advise. When you change the fluid in a transmission, only a certain part comes out, usually less than 1/3. The rest 2/3 are still in there. So you're mixing whatever you're putting in with the original fluid. Always stick to the original fluid for that reason. And for other reasons, such as no one knows what additives are in each company's fluid, right? Zircon plus blah, blah. They don't tell you what's really in. Those are all patents, right? You might as well stick to what it came with because you're going to mix it with that anyways, and who knows what additives they have in them. There's no sense in chancing it. Especially on a GM product, they got enough problems with their transmissions. Stick to the original fluid. Don't try something else. It's good fluid. Company makes good fluids, but who knows what happens when you mix that with the original one because you're never going to get it all out. Engine oil, most of it comes out. You can use whatever engine oil you want that's good oil. But transmission's very specific. Derek Allen says, Scotty, do you think Toyota will screw up the reliability of the 4Runner when the next generation comes out? Well, they might because they keep going to smaller turbo engines. They screwed up the Tundra. V8s that everyone loved, right? Love them. Then, oh, now we got a V6 with twin turbos. They've had problems with them. And if they're going to do something with the new generation, the 4Runner, I would be afraid that they would, because they seem to be going to 4-cylinder turbos. If they're going to 4-cylinder turbos in the 4Runner, I wouldn't buy one. They're made for a bigger engine. They've had the past 4Runners with 4-cylinder engines. They didn't have enough power. And now, yeah, you can put a turbo in a 4-cylinder and theoretically give it more power. But that's at higher RPMs. What do higher RPMs do? They wear your car out faster. So, no, I don't like the idea of changing for smaller turbo engines. Of course, they do, as the previous question was, planned obsolescence. Even Toyota's thinking about it now. Should we really make cars that go 1,000,000 miles? Then people won't buy a new one fast enough. Hey, they're learning the American way. TechWare Station says this is better to use 5W40 oil instead of a manufacturer's 530 if a car's 20 years old. Well, it depends on your engine. Heavier oil takes longer for the oil pump to pump it to the top and lubricate your cams. Most modern engines, even 20 years old, are overhead cam engines. You don't want a heavier weight oil. Let's say you got an old American V8 push rod, like in a Chevy, whatever. If it's a push rod engine, you go ahead. The heavier oil probably make it last longer, right? But not in an overhead cam engine. It's a completely different design. You don't want to put heavier weight oil in it. It's going to wear those cams out faster. That's just what's going to happen. And the real modern ones are like 0W15. You got to stick to that. They were designed for that. You put a heavy weight oil and it won't flow right, and the engine will wear out faster. Skeptical Science says, Scotty, my 2020 Mazda 6 makes a chirping noise switching between second and third gears. What could it be? Often it is your belt. Check the belt, fan belt, drive belt, whatever you want to call it, right? See if that's chirping. Now, you want to pray it's not in the transmission. If you got an automatic transmission, it's come from the transmission. It means you're getting some wear inside the transmission. Now, if you watch my video, finding the source of car noise is Scotty. Type that in YouTube, watch the video. We mechanics have headphones, devices. You can stick the sound transmitters all over the car, and then when we're driving the car, somebody else is driving, we put them on, we got the master unit, we click from one sensor to another, we can pinpoint where the noise is coming from. Pray that noise isn't coming from the transmission, because if it is, you're going to have internal transmission problems because of wear. Now, you might get lucky if you change the filter and fluid, it'll go away. That's not what you want. You don't want transmission noises, but that'll figure it out. And you can buy a machine like that. The one I showed was like $180 machine. You go to Amazon, the Chinese make copies now that instead of wireless or wired, I actually like the wired ones better. They screw up less. And they cost me $80 on Amazon. Just car noise listening machines. Just Google it and you'll see for $80 you can get one that has 8 sensors and you can put them all over the place, then listen to where the noise comes from. She says, what's the difference between turbochargers and superchargers? Both ram more air into the engine, and they do it to increase power. The more air, the more power you get. The turbocharger runs off your exhaust system. On the inside of the turbocharger, there is a vane, and your exhaust spins. On the other side of the turbocharger is a compressor vane, and that compresses the air to put compressed air into your engine. Okay, that's a turbocharger. It uses your exhaust system. A supercharger is an independent one. It's not hooked up to the exhaust system. And it either has an electric motor in it, and they run electrically off battery power, or they have a belt, and they run off a fan belt off the engine to spin the supercharger. Now, superchargers are easier to put on, but most cars are turbocharged because on paper, turbocharged cars get better gas mileage for the EPA, even though it's a crock of baloney, because if you have a turbocharged car, you'll step on the gas, it'll rev up fast, turbocharger kicks, and you get worse gas mileage. But if you drive like a turtle and go 30 miles an hour, it gets better gas mileage. And the superchargers knock a little bit off because they're using either your engine power or electricity to run themselves, and that uses a little bit of energy, so they're less efficient. That is why you see turbocharged cars and not too many supercharged cars. Now, here's something a lot of people probably don't think about. You're thinking about putting solar panels on your house. Costs a lot of money. Of course, it will destroy the roof structure too, all that extra weight. It will cause problems where you have to have things rebuilt. I've seen it happen, right? But here's something a lot of people don't think about. Certain areas, I would never advise getting solar panels on your roof, such as Big D, Dallas, Texas. You know what Dallas, Texas gets all the time? Hailstorms. They're part of Tornado Alley, right? And the tornadoes, they make those big ice crystals. Down they come as hail. Check out what happens to solar panels when hail hits them. Goodbye, solar panels. I can imagine your homeowner's insurance, the hassle it'd be that to get something. Well, that's an add-on. You didn't put that solar panel on your insurance policy. So another thing, if you could put on your insurance policy, you're going to pay more for your insurance policy, especially if you lived in an area like Dallas, Texas, where they have hail all the time. What if there's a freak storm and you get a lot of hail in your area? Goodbye, solar panels. It's one thing if you get a little window broken on your house, yeah, you replace the window, right? Solar panels aren't pointed like this, straight up and down, and it's hard for the hail to hit them and break. They're at just a tiny angle, the hail's going to smack the heck out of them. So think about that the next time somebody tries to sell you solar panels for your house. Say, what happens if hail hits them? Sales guy probably say, I don't know. I'm just selling this crap to people. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.